Thank you for Patreon now for donating to the Patreon. Hey guys, it's Vandy as well, back in another card fight Vanguard deck profiles. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon. Let's get started. Today we have Dragon Empire Overlord set 4 deck. So, you know, we all know set 5 is a thing. We all saw the video. We all saw the images of DOTE coming out. We all saw PBO. We all saw MLB, the original, not the one from V that was in Aichi's deck against Brantgate. Yeah, we know what's coming. We all know I'm gonna have to do a set 5 deck profile on this. But for now, before I have to go do more videos on another Dragon Empire deck, we can do videos on Overlord. And Overlord set 4 definitely made for consistency. Set 2, it had some cards. Set 3 literally got only generic support and what I would consider one support card. But then here, yeah, it did get a bunch of generic support, but it actually got good generic support. So let's go ahead and go over these cards and see what they do. First up, our starter is Lizard Runner Undeux. Why they didn't bring back Conroe, I guess I can understand, but they still should have brought back Conroe, let's all agree. Grade 0, boost, 5k shield, 6k base. Auto when it's rode upon, if you win second, draw a card. Standard starter ability, nothing special about it. You run this because you can. That's all. I really hope they bring back a Conroe card, because I don't think we know the grade 1 encounter card for Overlord yet. I really hope we get a Conroe card that just requires Undeux and Soul, so there's reason to run Undeux. I mean, you'd run Undeux anyways for the sake of encounter card looks, but still, like, it's your starter. You don't have to run it, but you can run it if you want to. Trigger-wise, we run over trigger in Dragon Deity, King of Resurgence, Dragveda. Grade 0, boost, 50k shield, 5k base. Over trigger, you may have one over triggering deck when revealed as a trigger. Remove that card, draw a card, choose one of your Vanguards, plus 1 million for the turn. If revealed during your draft, check to activate your potential effect, which is choose one of your Vanguards and stand it. Somehow this thing is more detrimental in Overlord than it should be. That's funny, that the thing that gets you a free restand in the deck that wants to restand is more hurtful to you than the one that gives you 1 million. Here's why. The rear guards don't get that much power, right? Okay, so the rear guards don't get that much power. You know, you want to run a Bahr for that. I run the Dragveda over trigger because it's a Dragon Empire deck. I'm gonna run it like... None of these builds are obviously... Like, they are still my personal builds, but they're obviously not, like, smartly built builds, if you will. Like, I have my own style, everyone else has their own style that's pretty much smarter than mine. But, you know, the standing of Vanguard is helpful in a deck that can do restands, because the downside is, though, he has to hit, and while you could just give 1 million to him and stand him, what are the chances that they're actually going to let the Vanguard with over 1 million on it hit and not PG? Now, if you know they don't have a PG or you can restrict them from PGing, cool, good for you. You can get around that. But if you can't, then standing the Vanguard is about the worst thing that could happen to you. It has happened to me on multiple occasions in the late game. If it's in the early game, it's fine, because I'll probably take it, but yeah, Dragveda, it's still it's a good over trigger, just not with Overlord, but it still does something in this deck. It gets you a free stand. And then we have our draw triggers. 3 copies of Flail Dragon. Draw trigger, continues guard circle. If your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3, gets plus 5k shield. Okay, 10k shield, draw trigger, you know, no longer discard fodder. And when I say that, I mean it's still completely discard fodder. But, you know, now it's helpful if you end up drawing into these, which is really nice. I like its wings. It gives off a really prismatic, realistic feel, because those fire wings just look so realistic to me. I don't know why. So, you know, 3 copies of the draw trigger, because you want to get hand cards for restanding purposes. 4 copies of Maiden and Parama, our front trigger, grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 4k base, front trigger, and it does the same exact thing as the draw trigger, so it's a 20k shield, but, you know, gives plus 10k to front row, which is really nice because this deck doesn't have enough power to give to the rear guards, which is definitely a problem I've realized, and you could run a Bahr and place a Dragveda, but once more, I just want the restander. So, you know, Parama helps with the shield aspect of the deck, but also gives power to your rear guards, and Burning Flail Dragon, auto rear, at the end about the boosted, shove it to soul, choose reviews, because plus 2 for the turn. You run it for the soul ability, you don't run it for the 2. The 2 does nothing unless you stack 3 of them together. So, 4 copies of Burning Flail, because you can get your soul in a deck that sometimes has a soul problem. And then 4 copies of White Light Dragon Parasolace, because you want to run dragons in this deck. I really wish the front trigger was a dragon, but it's fine that it's not. So, yeah, we have our rainbow triggers. If you want to run more crits, you can run more crits. If you want to run more draws, you can run more draws. If you want to run more fronts, you can run more fronts, but I prefer the rainbow. And then we have our grade 1s. First up, we have 4 copies of our PG Twin Buckler Dragon, 6k base, grade 1 boost, 0 shield. I don't know why, I still feel like he's giving you the middle finger with this side. Continue Sentinel, you have to force summons in your deck, and auto when it's placed on guard circle. Choose one of your units, it cannot be into the battle. If your hand has 2 or more cards, choose a card from hand, discard it. So if you don't know what that means that this and only one of the cards in your hand when you put it on the guard circle, you don't have to discard for it, which is really nice. Now, does that mean you need this PG for this deck to be good? No, you do not, even especially if you use this version. Here's why. In this version, unless the game goes to the point where both players have had 2 grade 3 turns of both of them persona riding, or your opponent persona riding twice during that time, your hand cards will not fall that quickly. Like, this deck has so much hand cards and so much guarding power. Literally 3 grade 3 turns have to pass for this deck to actually start diminishing hand cards. Like, yeah, on that 3rd grade 3 turn, that's where its hand like goes from 8 to nothing really quickly. But genuinely, from my experience with this deck, it does not lose hand cards until that grade 3 turn. So you can afford to use the other PG, and it will not kill you as long as you kill them quickly. I do suggest if you put that in though, maybe run 8 crits, but still, this PG is not needed. I just want to run it because I want to run it. Then on to 3 copies of Sharp Armor Dragon, Gatesfort, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Auto back or rear guard circle once per turn. When your opponent's rear guard is retired during your turn, stands unit gets +2 for the turn. If you don't know, Overlord's ability activates regardless of what it hits. And Overlord can make it so your opponent cannot guard rear guards from hand, which means if you boost this with Overlord to make it so that they can't intercept it either, when it dies, because it doesn't specify the unit has to die in the main phase, you could stand it along with Overlord, and it gets +2, so now your Vanguard has a 23k swing on it without triggers. Yeah, Gatesfort's really good. Unfortunately, it's only backward rear guard circle, so you know you can't do multi-attack with it, but it's still really good because it gets power, and it can add for a little bit of support for boosters, so 3 copies of Gatesfort. 4 copies of Dragon Gojo. Yes, I know it was a bit out of order, I accidentally put Gatesfort in the wrong place. Grade 1, boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto rear guard. When the attack this unit boosted hits a Vanguard, it's when the attack this unit boosted a Vanguard hit, so it can boost Overlord. It doesn't matter where it hits to, as long as it hits and it boosted the Vanguard. Retire this unit and countercharge 1. Okay, so you can make Overlord's Counterblast 1, discard 1 restand skill be a discard 1 and retire a rear guard skill. Okay, that's a fair cost. Definitely a good support card. Weird thing is, this never has come useful in Overlord for me. It has more come useful in the time that I ran in my Nirvana deck because I was in need of a countercharger that wasn't Urger, and when I say that, I mean back in set 3 where you'd still run Urger. I did run Urger. I just wanted Gojo because, you know, I was featuring a counterboss problem, and Gojo fixed it because I never really had a booster for Vanguard, and then I don't run this in my newer Nirvana build because Urger still works in that deck. So, 4 of Gojo, get your counter charges when you need it. It's just that this deck, in my opinion, doesn't need it because it does not counterblast enough for this thing to be abused. Then again, you could counterblast enough for this thing to be abused in theory. It's just a question how you would do it. 4 copies of Gojo. 4 copies, and 3 of them are in the main deck. 1 of them is in the ride deck of our last grade 1 and our main grade 1. Embodiment of Armor Bahr. As you can tell, because it goes in the ride deck, it's the grade 1 of the ride line. Grade 1, boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Auto when is rode upon by Dragonite Nehalem. Counterblast 1, search your deck to 1 grade 1 card, reveal it, put it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. And auto rear once per turn when your Vanguard attack hits, this unit gets +5. So, for the turn. So let's go ahead and do the second skill first. Okay. So 13k booster or swinger when your Vanguard attack hits, and it can hit anything, which means you can just ram it to the rear guard and they can't guard it. Cool. But then also, if you just choose to ride the grade 2 of the ride line on top of this, you can search for any fucking grade 1 you want. And you're in the entirety of the deck. You could run one of grade 1s, and you would still get them. Granted, they have to be grade 1, so you can't just like shove Trickstar into this and expect it to work. But you can search any grade 1. You can search a copy of this, you can search a copy of Gojo, you can search a copy of Gatesfort. Hell, you can just pull an old Conroe from 0 and just pull fucking the PG out of deck. You know what? Normally, I give Bushy shit for like name restricting all of their ride line cards, but this is the one time I'm not going to give them shit. Because if I did, I would also be telling them that they should let Anarchy reign, unname restrict that, and then literally let every deck be able to have a card that just says, when you ride this on top of by riding a grade 2, search your deck for any grade 1, which would break some decks. Maybe not break some decks, but definitely put them into better consistency ranges than normal. Especially because it says grade 1 card, not unit, which means you can search orders with these. Yeah, 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck. That is the best ride deck ability I have ever fucking seen. And I am fine with Bushiroad name restricting this to the grade 2. That's the one time I will give him a point for that, because that's really good. Then we're on to grade 2s. 3 copies of Lava Wire Dragon. Grade 2 intercept 5k shield 8k base. Continues from rearguard circle. All your units can attack your opponent's back row rear guards in the same column as the attacking unit. Okay, if you don't know, in set 2, the set Overlord came out with, we got a generic support card called Flame Dragon Embodiment, which said choose your Vanguard. It was a normal order. Choose your Vanguard, and for the turn, it gets Auto Vanguard. When your units would attack an opponent's unit, they may attack an opponent's unit in the back row, not of the same column. While this does restrict it to the same column, unlike the other one where, yes, you could still attack the same column, but it didn't restrict it to it, this one is not in order, which means it's not once per turn. I mean, granted, it's technically a once per turn because it just has to be in the front row, but, you know, it's a grade 2. It has intercept, it is a unit card, it has shield, and it has power. I cannot tell you how many times I bricked with a Flame Dragon Bombardment in my hand. Yeah, the thing that does the same thing but as a unit, I think this is better, honestly. 3 of. Then we have 4 copies of Berserk Dragon. Grade 2, intercept, 5k shield, and 10k base. Auto, do I say a castle falling? I'm sorry, what? Auto rear. When this unit attacks anything, if you have the Vanguard with Overlord in its card name, this unit gets +5 for the battle. Then, counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or less rear guards and retire it. So, swings for 15 if you have Overlord Vanguard. And then if you wanted to, you can counterblast 1. Okay, so this is where Gojo comes in, because it's the only other counterblaster in the deck that isn't Overlord and Bahr. And you can kill a grade 2 or less rear guard. Cool. So, you know, get rid of their board while Overlord also kills a unit and gets the amount of power out of it. And sad part is, it is until end of battle, so if we did have a way to restand it, we wouldn't really get many benefits off it. Is that what the end is going to do? It's going to stand front row? Probably not. It wouldn't do that. If it does, I'll be damned, but I don't think it would do that. They would probably bring back the Great and do like they did in V and bring back Neoflame, but I don't think it would do the front row restand. If it does the front row restand, I predicted it like 2 months in advance on pure accident. But I doubt it's going to happen, but I'm still saying it might will. So, you know, getting that rearguard kill is still nice. So I give Berserk Dragon a 4 because it gets power and it kills a rearguard. Then we have 4 copies, and 3 that are in the main deck, 1 is in the ride deck of our last grade 2, and the grade 2 of the ride line, Dragon Knight Nehalem, the most iconic card, most likely, of Dragonic Overlord, the clan, minus Dragonic Overlords. Grade 2, intercept, 5k shield, 10k base. This is actually one of my favorite arts for the encounter card. It actually is my favorite art for all the encounter cards combined. Auto, when it's rode upon by a unit with Overlord in its card name, call this card to rearguard. You see, I found it fishy before that it said Overlord, and yeah, I thought in my mind maybe premium for that, but now that I think about it, how are they going to do the end? Is it going to be a grade 4 or a grade 3? Because if it's a grade 3, you could shove it in the ride line, and unless they make it a skill, they probably will make it a skill that requires the OG Overlord, so where you might not want to put it in the ride deck, but, you know, if they make it a grade 3 and they don't give it a skill that wants you to run the other one, because it just says Overlord, you could just ride the end, and then just say, fuck the old Overlord. I really hope that's not the case. I hope it's either a grade 4 or it gives you reasons to run the other Overlord in the main deck. I mean, in the ride deck instead of running it in the main deck or not running it at all. I hope that's the case. Bushy, please don't, release its use. And then act rearguard once per turn. If your Vanguard Overlord in its card name... if you have a Vanguard Overlord in its card name, soul boss 1, and this unit and all your Vanguards get +5 for the turn. So, you know, this is a 15. Your Vanguard's a 18. Pretty decent, you know. Your Vanguard's going to get a restand. It makes it harder for them to guard because if you don't know, since he restricts guarding from hand, only intercepts can stop him, and, you know, now it makes it hard for them to intercept, so they have to intercept with like a 10k interceptor. So 4 copies of Nehalem because he adds power, makes it slightly harder for them to guard their rear guards, and he can get you a free just by being rode upon. 4 of. 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck. Grade 3 times. Our only normal unit grade 3 and our main grade 3, 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck of Dragonic Overlord, the clan! I'm sorry, wrong card. That's a different card we'll talk about later when Bushy chooses to reveal it. Grade 3, Twin Jack, Persona Ride, 13k base. Its wings look so good here, but everything else besides the background kind of looks shit to me. Continues Vanguard rear guard. During the battle that this unit attacked a rear guard, your opponent cannot call cards from their hand to guard circle. You know, let's change the ability that says from rear guard to vanguard, so then they can't guard the vanguard from hand, and then immediately this thing becomes broken. Yeah, so you swing into rear guard with this. they can only intercept with it, but since they can't intercept the unit that's being attacked, I hope their state that interceptor has an extra shield. And auto van, once per turn, when this unit attack hits something, it doesn't matter what it hits, counterblast 1, discard 1, stand this unit and lose a drive for the turn. Okay. Sure. Free, more or less free restand. If you combine with Gojo, you do lose a drive, which kind of sucks. You can combine with Dragveda, though, not lose drives. And you can force guard. What reasons are there not to run this again? 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the red deck, because also you can just call 2 of these to rear guard just to nuke their pesky. You can call 1 of them to rear guard just to nuke a pesky rear guard. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Like, not amazingly game breaking, but like it's very simple. It is very calm and it's very casual. Like, this is a good card. I'm not gonna say it's like amazing for competitive because I don't really know how competitive does with this, but I'm gonna say it's fine. And then our last card in the deck is a Blitz Order called Wind of Apocalypse. I don't remember what its attack name was. I think it was Breath of the Apocalypse or Flame of the Apocalypse. Something of the Apocalypse, but I know it wasn't Winds of the Apocalypse. I'm pretty sure it wasn't Winds of the Apocalypse, so I'm kind of disappointed that they chose not to use its real name. If that was its real name, or maybe that was its Japanese name, then so be it, but if that was its Japanese name, then fair enough, but I kind of prefer the English name. Grade 3, Blitz Order. If your Vanguard is Dragonic Overlord, choose one of your units, except plus 20 for the battle. Yeah, I used to run Pure Bright, Burn Bright, Pure Prayers. I remember when that was a card I used to run in almost all of my Dragon Empire decks, and I run it in none of them. It was if your damage zone has had 3 or more cards, it gets plus 15. Your unit being attacked gets plus 15 for the battle. Yeah, this is better. All you have to do is you have your Vanguard be an Overlord, and it gets plus 20. Granted, it has to, no, you just have to have Vanguard with Overlord. You can pick anything, and it gets plus 20. Good Blitz Order. 3 of. Like, no questions asked. And that's it for the deck, so hope you guys enjoyed. All around, this deck is fun feeling. It doesn't feel like something where it's on lines of Nirvana, where it feels like it's constantly getting better. And what I mean by that is, like, when I say constantly getting better, I mean, like, every time it gets a new set of support, it is actively jumping like 4 steps on the stairway to success. This one feels like it's taking 1 step at a time, but I like those 1 step at a time decks because, you know, it gets you the feeling to experience every little moment instead of every deck just jumping ahead so much and leaving all the other decks behind, like Eugene and X Orb that can't grow as fast because maybe they're not main series decks, which means they don't deserve enough, like, or sorry, they're not getting good enough support. I'm not saying they're not getting good support. I'm saying, like, you know, we got grade 4s. We all know we're not going to get grade 4s for Eugene, Hexaorb, Zorga, and the likes of them. If we do, good. If we don't, we all saw it coming. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I really can't wait to see what Dragonic Overlord at the end does, and I really hope he doesn't replace the use of the original Overlord, and I really hope that he at least requires him, because I like the fact that they didn't get rid of, like, all the grade 3s when they did evolve forms of all the trial deck bosses. So I really hope they don't do it to Overlord. So I'm ending here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, donate to the Patreon, join Discord, follow Twitch, and I'll see you all next one. Don't forget to stand up your Vanguards.